What do you say, Chance?
Hey.
All right, this is Chance. He's one of my deer hunters, my buddy from Baton Rouge, is it?
Yeah, Baton Rouge, or Denham Springs is a little east of Baton Rouge. But.
All right, we're going to do a day 4 update. He hunted in my bottom micro plot tonight. It's been slow, but it's finally picked up a little. I just want to hear how the hunt went this evening.
It's actually one of the better, so far it's been one of the best days since we've been here because, with the moon and just, I guess, in the overall state, everything's been kind of down with the moon, the acorns, and all the issues the weather has played a factor, but it's finally starting to turn around. So we got in the blind today. Everything was normal. The wind was whipping, of course. I liked it to been.
Yeah, we had 17 to 20 mile an hour west wind.
It was whipping. Obviously I like no wind, but we did our scent control. I made sure that I was covered as far as the windows and I was covered. The west wind was coming, so we were all covered on that part. So I'm sitting in the blind, and it's getting about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Of course, I see 8 or 9 turkeys come out. So I'm watching them for a little while, watching the turkeys for a little while. Of course, they ease on out. And then I look in front of me and I see 2 little does coming down the hill in front of me. So they're feeding for a little while, and all of a sudden one of the does pops her head up, and she's looking at something. She's looking. I was like, what is she looking at? So I'm looking, and she starts stomping her foot. I'm like, something's coming, something's bothering her. Something's got her attention. She keeps looking around the tree. So I look to the left, and I see another couple of turkeys. I was like, there's no way this doe is having an issue with turkeys. No, she did have issues with turkeys. She started blowing. I was like, well, I guess she had an issue with a turkey. So then them 2 run off, and she stopped right at the top of the hill. She turns back around, starts blowing at them again. She runs back off. I can hear her blowing. Then she stops blowing. A couple minutes later here, she comes back. Comes back down the food plot. I guess she wanted to see if they were gone. Looks around the corner. Sees the turkeys are still there, starts blowing at them again. And she starts trotting off again. I'm like, well, I guess she's having a problem with a turkey. So I'm like, well, it's still kind of early. We're about 3:30, between 3:30 and 4 o'clock. I said it's starting to get, that prime time. So maybe everything's not ruined. The wind's still kicking, so as far as the noise and with her blowing, I guess with the wind blowing, that shouldn't have traveled. Her blowing shouldn't have traveled that bad. So about 20 minutes goes by. It's about 4 o'clock. Then I see, my buddy that was here the night before said he had that 7-point come out on him the night before. Well, then I seen a buck just, walk across where those same does came down the hill. They had a buck cross. And I looked at him, and I think it was that same 7-point. He didn't stop to eat, but I don't know if he was after those same 2 little does, because as soon as they took off from that turkey bothering him, he kind of trotted across. So I don't know if she was blowing at him. Like, I don't know what was all going on right there, but it was kind of strange on what all was going down from them blowing at the turkeys, and then the buck coming across, with them taking off, the buck coming across. So I don't know if it was all related. So after all that was going, everything calmed down again. So I'm sitting there, everything's quiet. The wind started dying down, so it really got quiet. So to the right of me, you had that window in the blind. So I sit far enough back because you don't want your face up against the blinds. The windows, because you can be seen from the outside. So you kind of sit in the darkness in the back of the blind. So I lean up a little bit to check the right side of that food plot every now and then. Well, I eased up a little bit, and I said, oh, there's a buck standing right there. So
that ain't but 20, 30 yards.
Yeah,
right?
he wasn't.
That's a small plot. Yeah,
he wasn't far, and we're at 5:05 5-ish, 5-10 maybe. It's still a good bit of light. Not obviously to record him. I got some footage, but it was getting, the lighting just wasn't there. So he looked like he was injured. I guess maybe during the rut, maybe some fighting was going on, something, no telling what happened. So he's steady looking at me. So of course the window's closed, so I'm easing it open. I mean, it wasn't, I move it a little bit, he's looking. Move it a little bit, there he goes again. Move it, so I don't know if the reflection was catching him. Put his head down, I moved the window a little bit, and he's looking up again. I'm like, man, it's gonna take me an hour to open. But I mean, that's what it takes. So I opened it just enough to be able to get, because I'd forgot my binoculars here, because it was getting a little dark. So I just ended up using my rifle scope to see what, I knew he had 4 points on one side and 4 points on the other. So I immediately knew he was a 10 point. And the way his body was, I was like, he's gonna be a little too young. And then I saw him walking. He wouldn't walk on his right rear leg. He was injured, looked a little young. So I decided not to pursue him, just because he looked like a 1 or 2 year old, maybe, for lucky. I mean, he was
probably 2 and a half.
Yeah, he was.
But I wanted you to relay. I try to tell our audience how relative things are. You're from, your parish down in Louisiana, where, tell us what most guys shoot down there for bucks.
A typical deer is a nice 8 point. Is a little small basket rack 8 point is normally what you see down there. And the way Louisiana hunters are is anything that walks, they're shooting. So you don't have that ability to get the antlers that are grown up here, because there's no kind of management down there, and there's so many hunters down there. It's Louisiana's paradise, it's sportsman's paradise, but it's also everything that walks they're taking out. So there's no kind of management when it comes to, well, maybe I should just hold off and let's give this one another year or two to really, if he's a 10 point at 2.5 years old, 2.5 years old, imagine what it'll be at 3 or 4 years old. Just like that 12 point we're seeing, imagine what he's going to look like next year. So it's just one of those things that you just wait one more year, look at the possibility.
Well, it helps knowing that, we've got at least 7 or 8 shooter bucks that I've identified on camera. So the next one that pops out could be, double or triple the size of that 10 pointer.
And that's the ones we've gotten on camera.
Yeah.
Like we haven't seen him. That 10 point, we haven't seen.
I don't think I've got him.
Any
on
picture
camera.
you've sent. So imagine the ones we haven't gotten on camera.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So it could be double that out there.
Yeah. Speaking of cameras, I got a camera 360 on that plot he was hunting, and I didn't get I got the turkeys. That was it. So I figured he was going to get skunked. I figured he didn't even see a deer because nothing tripped the camera, but here he ended up seeing, 5 or 6 or 7 deer, but nothing tripped the camera.
And then, so right after all that, I could hear you coming down to get me, and there was already another doe that had already walked in front of the stand. So I watched her when you were coming down. She was already in front of the stand when you were coming down to get me. So that's why I was kind of hanging out. I didn't come out immediately when you pulled in. Of course, with no cell service, I couldn't say, hey, there's deer in the food plot still. The buck was still in there, and I didn't want to get out of the blind and spook them out with me being up there, because then I don't want them to associate with, them with a person being up there.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, I wanted to just get a quick update. We got a couple more days left with Chance, but at least we're starting to see some more deer. I appreciate the time, buddy, and we'll be out here. Well, he'll be out first thing in the morning probably, so stay tuned, man. I appreciate it.